So yeah, Usman को मैं पहले देखूंगा. We'll talk today. Usman, congratulations. Rafael Nadal, 21 Grand Slam winners. As a Federer fan, Heather though is not in the mood at this time.
Might want to wait for that.
He didn't want to come to this show, but I dragged him.
Yeah.
Yeah, my fingernails are broken.
So Usman, I think first.
Dragged.
I know,
So happy
like
I'm
as friends, we should give Usman this opportunity because he's a diehard Nadal fan. So it's his day today.
Crazy.
Usman, बताओ यार, what happened? What were your feelings?
Yeah.
I remember calling you after.
I remember everyone calling me from every part of the world because they knew that how crazy I was of a Nadal fan since the start of his career. My life is complete. That was
Seriously.
yeah. And we as a Nadal fans waited since forever because, as you know, he was an underdog when he started, and he was always following or chasing the title Grand Slam race, which Federer was always leading, and then there was Djokovic who was catching up from the back, and we also lost hope in the middle. Like I think it was never going to happen. Like Federer is too far ahead, and the injuries which is going to happen to Nadal, the knee injuries and everything. But I don't know how that guy never lost hope, and he fought back, and and this is the moment which we were waiting for, a lead to come in the front to get the greatest of all time title, which we finally have right now. And
Heather is mute right now. I'm going to give Heather an opportunity.
I know it's not forever. There's a high probability that Djokovic might chase up and he might overcome the lead. But this is the time which we finally gained of coming ahead of both the players, especially Federer, because he always was in front. And people used to bash us. Nadal fans used to bully us that you're way behind in slams. You will never cross Federer. It's really, and especially when Nadal lost the French Open, and Djokovic was at 19. If he got the 19th slam, and then there was Wimbledon, and we thought, yeah, after Wimbledon he's going to be 21, and our dreams are going to be shattered that we will never be in the lead. So it's a miracle that he won on the least favorite surface after coming back of 6 months after an injury, a foot surgery, and having a 1 month play. And I don't know, it was fate or something that he wasn't supposed to win the French, he was supposed to win the Australian. And we as a fan, we choose Australian Open any day over French. Why? Because it's a double career Grand Slam as well for Nadal. And he was lacking in that corner of the GOAT debate, which he has filled that department of double career Grand Slams. And talking about the match, my blood pressure was up the roof. I was gonna have a heart attack literally in the middle when he broke back in the fifth set. Starting from the match, I thought that Nadal was gonna lose in straight sets. Because
I also told you that.
It was your prediction as well, Sakib, because he was very hard to control his serve, or break his Medvedev serve. He wasn't able to hold his serve, Nadal. But especially after losing the second set, I thought he was never going to come back from there. But I don't know how. And even all the analysts were saying that if it goes more than 4 hours plus, Nadal's going to be drained and he's going to lose the match. But I don't know. Everyone was shocked that it went the other way around. Medvedev got tired in the fifth set, and Nadal got more energized. He was fighting like a 25-year-old player, like he used to. And Med was confused that his performance was unreal. Like what happened? He raised the bar suddenly, and as Nadal, he's a fighter. He fights to the last point. And what a match! Like I've never seen Nadal coming back from 2 sets to down ever in my life, and never expected it. But this was one of the greatest victories for Nadal and one of the best days for me as a Nadal fan, that we finally came in the lead, which we never expected after losing the French, because Djokovic was right behind. So I'm off the roof.
So I can sense more than the match itself. I can sense the passion and emotions he's feeling right now. But because now we have to come to what actually happened during this whole tournament. So Medvedev and Nadal were in the final. So we should discuss. We should go to Heather first, and we should discuss what happened in the final. Medvedev was all over Nadal in the first 2 sets, and suddenly the whole game changed. So can you explain what happened in that game?
You might need to beep out some stuff because I might say bad stuff to not know. But look, at the end of the day, it was experience. A 20-time Grand Slam champion, the greatest of all time. Even before he got 21, he was definitely, obviously, in the conversation. If you look at it statistically, Nadal won 67% of his first serves, Medvedev 70%. The second serve points, Medvedev won 42%, Nadal won 47%. Medvedev converted 15 out of 22 break points, Nadal 16 out of 22. So they're pretty even. I think it's just at the end of the day, I think Medvedev knew at love 40 in the third set that he was maybe getting tired or maybe his legs weren't there anymore. So I think he got a little bit anxious and a bit nervous. I think he wanted to end the points quickly, which played perfectly into Nadal's hands. I think Nadal sensed that moment, and I think as an all-court player, Nadal is definitely a much better player than Medvedev. His net game, sensing when to come in, when to hit the drop shots. We saw him, exactly, experience. We saw how he exposed Medvedev's movement coming forward to the net. Medvedev at times looked completely lost. And I don't understand, though, because at certain times it seemed as if Medvedev was down 2-0. I mean, he let the crowd get to him at that game at 3-3 in the third set. He gave a sarcastic clap. He had the ball right in front of him. He could have put it away. And I think Nadal just sensed that. Obviously he has won 20 slams. He's played against the GOATs. He's played against Federer. He's beat Federer. He's beat Djokovic. And it's the same thing which happened with Tsitsipas last year at the French when Djokovic was down 2-0 by the same scoreline. He lost the first set 7-6, and then the next set he lost by 6-2, and then managed to come back. So
that's a great analogy.
Exactly. I think they're just in a different league altogether at the moment. I think these guys just don't know when to lose. And also I think the weather, initially when the match started, was 7:30 Australian time. It was a bit humid. Darren Cahill pointed out that later on, as the evening went on, it got a bit cooler and the ball was going through the air a lot quicker. So Nadal, I think, as we know, he doesn't like heavy balls. So he was able to get more penetration because the most powerful shot on the court was Nadal's forehand. Unfortunately, Medvedev has an equal balance on both his forehand and his backhand side. But once, Nadal was able to penetrate the court, he turned the match around.
And I would like to talk about the match as well. Medvedev was a better player on that day. He had more points, more winners, and less unforced errors, and more aces. Medvedev was hitting aces like crazy. He had 24 aces, and Nadal had a couple of aces, that's all.
Yeah.
So his game was better.
Another aspect I want to add is Nadal had improved his double fault issues in this tournament overall as well. He was much better in that because I remember last season in crunch moments, even watching the matches with Usman, he would in big moments give a double fault and give the match to against Djokovic.
Yes.
So that was a big thing as well. And what Heather is saying, I would agree with that. When Medvedev was winning and he was in a good position, he somehow let it all come into his head. Rather than Nadal feeling the pressure, Medvedev started feeling the pressure. And that is what these young players need to learn from Djokovic and Nadal and even Federer at his point. They were shrewd, they were competitive, and they had that thing in them that they want the trophy. I know I'm not saying that Medvedev was thinking, I don't want the trophy. No. It's just that you have to learn to take that pressure. It is the pressure you need to...
I think these great players had a lot of experiences because Nadal has played a lot of crunch matches like these. Even Djokovic and Federer has lost so many, and he knows how to win. Medvedev is in the start of his career, in a way that he hasn't faced these kind of pressure matches. So I think
it's also about the need. For example, Medvedev has won one. He's still young. He knows he has his time. Nadal, Djokovic, even Federer, I would say, if he comes back and. In their mind, it's their last moments, and they want to accumulate as much as they can. So I think what we were saying that Nadal somehow, you said, in the end of the match, he started suddenly looking like a 25-year-old. It's probably because for him, it's much more to lose than Medvedev. He wants it more because he knows he probably has 2 more years, probably 3 more years. So he wants to accumulate as much as he wants. Similarly, Djokovic did this anti-vax whole political thing in this Australian Open, but he himself knows he doesn't have many years now. So he needs to play each and every big tournament if he wants to reach that now, because we don't know now, maybe after 5 months Nadal is on 22, because within 3 months there's the French Open and he can easily win the clay court. but probably Djokovic will return there, and then we can see.
And I think
another
Nadal
game.
has lost so many big matches on Australian Open, and he's been so emotional about those matches that he didn't want to lose again. Because he has lost in 2012 with Djokovic, one of the longest finals ever in the Australian Open, and then in 2017 against Federer. So he said, not this time. I'm not going to lose. This is it.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to bring in another point, because we've talked about the final. Let's talk about the fact, like both of you tell me, because the final was obviously a great match. It's a 5-setter. We shouldn't even forget that both Medvedev and Nadal semis were both 4-setters, but they had played very crucial, big, long 5-setter matches before coming to the final.
Their court time was same on this.
So that's what I wanted to talk about. Which, other than the final, because obviously final had those emotions.
Yeah.
Which was, Heather, you first. Which was the best match you probably saw in the Australian Open? The good match, technically good tennis match, which you thought was the best.
I think Felix versus Medvedev was a very high quality match for the first 2 sets at least.
Yeah.
In fact, for the next 2 sets as well, because I think Felix
It was
had
a
match
great
point
match.
as well. It
I
was a
even
great
saw
match.
that match.
He was taking the ball early, pushing Medvedev. I think he was playing like a young Federer or Nadal would play, except he didn't have the experience to close out the match because he had match point as well. Even in the 5th set, he had 15-40 on Medvedev's serve, and when Medvedev served, he had another break point, just couldn't convert. And I'd like to add to your point of, how these guys push each other.
Yeah.
There's a great tennis analyst, Joel Drucker. He was saying that Sampras retired at 14 slams because he didn't have anybody close to him. Because Andre Agassi had 8.
That's very
The
right.
next person close to him was Roy Emerson, who had retired, long ago. So even now, Federer, I think he's also trying to come back because he's so close to history, and if he comes back, maybe has another wonderful run or something, he can still be in the conversation.
Yeah, sure.
So I think in Medvedev, coming back to that match, I just wanted to add, because Medvedev, Nadal, both had, as Usman said, spent the same time on court, but I think Nadal knew that he was very, very close this time because he didn't have a Djokovic, he didn't have a Federer on the other side of the net, who is another.
And that was a motivating factor.
It definitely must have been. And he, when you're on the court, when you're playing, you sense that energy. He probably sensed Medvedev getting more vulnerable, and he knew that this was his chance to take it, which is how he probably pulled off
Once
the
he
miraculous
won
shots.
the 4th set, that's where he got the motivation. 3rd set, sorry, that's where he got the motivation that he can do
So,
it.
Usman, what was your favorite match? Was it the same one?
I would say exactly the same one. Felix versus Medvedev. That was one of the, I think, second best matches in the tournament after the final.
You thought the final was the best match of
Because it was the final. The pressure of the final is something else. And the history was on the line. Medvedev
And crowd was intense as well.
Medvedev was going to be the second player in the history to win back-to-back Grand Slams. And on the other end, Nadal was going to hit 21st Grand Slam ever. A record-breaking that no one has ever done in the history of tennis. So both history was on the line. So I would never take the final pressure away. But the second best match was Felix and Medvedev because he had the match points.
So finally, I'm going to come on. We talked about the best matches, and finally, I'm going to come about in the last episode as well. We talked about in the preview that the mid-carders who can trouble either Nadal or Medvedev we talked about 3 names which did really impress in the tournament, which were Berrettini, Shapovalov, and Felix. So Usman has been talking about Felix since last year, I remember. I've been talking about Berrettini, both of us, and honestly, Berrettini, just a shout out, when he lost the semi-final this season, in the Australian Open, last episode, you were the one who was also telling us that his backhand is what is going to cost him, and in the semi-final, it was the backhand. His backhand was really poor against Nadal. So these now, and Shapovalov, who I wouldn't say it's an upset now because Shapovalov is a very good player as well. He beat Zverev in the round of 16. So out of these 3, both of you, can you talk about these 3 and who do you think can be the first one to get a Grand Slam this year? Maybe one of them can win a Grand Slam this year or maybe in the coming years.
Shapovalov, Felix, and
Berrettini. And Tsitsipas, you can add Tsitsipas now in that as well because Tsitsipas did really well in the tournament.
Well, I'll probably leave Tsitsipas out for the moment because I think Tsitsipas has been to the semis, he's been to the final, whereas these guys have yet to. Well, Berrettini has made the final, but he's still new in terms of coming up. Well, honestly, I think it's the mental area where these guys lag because if you look at the semi-final between Berrettini and Nadal, everybody knew Nadal's game plan would be going to the backhand of Berrettini because he's a lefty, he's got that topspin, he has tortured Federer, and us Federer fans have experienced that. He has demolished Federer on Federer's backhand, and he did the same with Berrettini. These guys need to develop a better game plan against the big 3. and they need to understand when to beat them. As we saw against Shapovalov, he was very close. Nadal was done in that match. He was drained, finished.
Shapovalov, I honestly felt he was going to beat Nadal. He had
an advantage because he's a left-hander, so Nadal has to go for his more uncomfortable shot.
Angle wouldn't work.
Exactly, down the line. And when he got broken in that fifth set, Shapovalov, he just threw that game away. I mean, if he had just stuck around for a bit more, I think he probably would have won that match, because I don't think Nadal would have had the strength to finish that match.
And it was humid as well a lot, because Nadal was having cramps and his stomach upset.
It was a sunny day. It was a sunny day. It was everything.
And he lost 4 kgs after that match.
Yeah.
I told that.
It was 4 kg, but you have to think about it this way. I mentioned another guy, Gil Gross, talking about this. He said, okay, if Nadal lost 4 kg, but how much does he usually lose? So, for instance, if he loses 2 kg per match, then he only lost 2 kg. So maybe that was a bit exaggerated, probably.
It's also most water retention, I'm guessing,
exactly.
Because you're sweating a lot.
Yeah, it's very humid that day.
So, but again, we talked about all these players now. Obviously, there's a French Open to look forward to. There's going to be ATPs in the middle. We're again going to congratulate Usman for Nadal. He has done it.
Finally, waited 17 years for this.
Honestly, I'm going to give my opinion. I never felt Nadal can win this tournament when it was starting. And
I doubted it.
It was a dark horse for me.
I think we should give credit where it's due. He has performed really well. We cannot take it away from him because there wasn't Djokovic, there wasn't Federer in this tournament. He played. He beat the players who were in front of him. And he got the job done. He could have easily lost to Shapovalov. He could have easily lost to Medvedev in the final as well. Yeah, he did not give up. Honestly, the crowd cheered him on. I think that motivated him. And what I said, getting the 21 Grand Slams, that I think it goes in your head. You cannot. It's just too big of a match to lose for you then.
It's human nature.
Yeah, it's human nature. For Medvedev, he knows I'm going to play another 20, 30 Grand Slams in my career. I can learn from experience, get these. But for Nadal, he knows it's my final 2-3 tries. And this way, Djokovic not playing, he knew from the start of the tournament, this is my chance to get ahead of all of them.
Yeah, and also I'd like to add a factor, experience, because Nadal was literally predicting his game and reading the rallies. When he was on the net, he was literally reading like a textbook. Like, where Medvedev is going to play the shot on down the line or cross court or wherever. Because experience, he has played so many rallies in with Djokovic and Federer that he knows where Medvedev is going to hit.
But I'm not going to take anything from Medvedev. Medvedev will win other Grand Slams. He's a good player. He's learning. He's going to learn from this match as well. In the end, I saw a video which we were talking about where he was like literally looking at Nadal and telling him, how are you doing this? I was thinking you're going to stop running. Yeah, he said, I was thinking you're going to stop running. You're going to run out of energy. But how are you still doing? He himself was confused. I saw this perspective from the first time, that how these young players are also feeling that this is non-human behavior. This is super
game time was at the end of the game that I'm going to take him to 4th set, he's going to get tired, or 5th set, and he's going to get really tired, and I'm going to win the game.
I think Medvedev, adding to both your points, he's also right about experience, and you're right about the crowd lifting him. I think he just he underestimated Nadal's ability at times. I think at the back of his mind, it was that, he's 25, he's 35. His game didn't work. It didn't work. But I think Medvedev, mentally, I think he let the crowd get to him. I don't know what happened. Yeah. Maybe he panicked a little bit. Maybe he knew he was very close to history, because you saw in that Love 40 game, he was rushing a little bit. From that moment on, I sensed as if he was under a little bit of pressure and stress. And
the only moment I thought that Nadal is now, when after obviously the straight sets he was going to, but in the end, when Medvedev broke back to make it 5-all. At that point, I actually thought it was going to go to a tiebreaker.
I switched off my TV in the middle. At the end, I was literally
killing you.
I was about to crack the TV, because I knew if it goes into tiebreak and Nadal has not a good track record of tiebreak, he's going to lose the tiebreak. And I was for sure there. But I don't know how somehow he broke back right there. And that was the sign of the court, like to break back right there.
So this moment, this passion came out from Usman. We're going to end it here with the Australian Open. The Australian Open is over now. We're going to finish next week. Inshallah, we're going to come up with the first PSL video coming up. We talk about PSL, some cricket. So congratulations again, Usman. Have fun.
Thank you. As I just Even Federer appreciated Nadal's performance. That unbelievable.